Welcome to Outrage Overload, a science podcast about outrage and lowering the temperature. Welcome to a special episode of Outrage Overload. Today, we're doing something a little different as part of PODCASTHON, a massive worldwide podcasting charity event where over 1,500 podcasts, including this one, are dedicating an episode to a cause we care about. From March 15th to 21st, podcasts across every genre are using their platforms to raise awareness and support for important nonprofit organizations making a difference in their communities. It's a movement, one where podcasters come together to turn up the volume on issues that matter.
All right, time now for the Executive Edge. Higher pay and better benefits, big draws, obviously, for jobs in the tech sector, yet blacks and Latinos make up just a tiny fraction of that workforce.
I'm your host, David Beckmeyer. And for this episode, I've chosen to highlight DevMission, a nonprofit based in San Francisco that's working to close the opportunity gap in tech. They're training and mentoring underserved young adults, providing them with the skills and support they need to launch careers in the technology industry. If you care about diversity in tech, economic mobility, and breaking down barriers for the next generation of talent, you'll want to stick around for this conversation. Joining me is Leonardo Sosa, the founder and executive director of DevMission, to share how this program is transforming lives, the challenges they're tackling, and how you, yes you, can be part of the solution.
Hi everyone, my name is Leo Sosa. I'm the founder and executive director for DevMission, which is a nonprofit organization in San Francisco. We aim to train untapped young adults ages 16 to 24 years old for careers in the tech industry. And I'm so excited to be part of the podcast today to share a little bit about what we do, the impact that we make, and most importantly, how we build the next generation of tech talent.
Let's do that right now. Well, Leo, it's great to see you again, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, David. I appreciate the invitation that I'm getting from you today, and I'm so excited that we're finally able to catch up after so many wonderful opportunities you and I have built together for young people in our organization.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. So tell us a little bit about DevMission. I know, for a lot of folks, I mentioned that it's an organization in San Francisco. Tell us a little bit more, sort of the story behind it and what inspired you to start it.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you again for having us today. So this idea started almost 8 years ago in 2017, when after almost 20 plus years doing youth development, workforce development, I thought about this opportunity to bring a group of technologists together to build this idea. And the idea really came around about two gaps at that time. One gap was that high schoolers were not being exposed to STEM subjects at the education level. As you can imagine, trying to run a STEM subject or a computer science subject at a high school level requires capacity, funding, knowledge, resources. So we saw the disparity of a lot of high school youth not being exposed to that. And then the second gap that we saw was, diversity at the tech industry pretty low. Even at this point, I can barely see an increase of Latinx and African Americans working in the tech industry. So at that time, we put together this idea of a program, a bootcamp style program. And at that time, we really just wanted to get young people exposed to different competencies like Internet of Things, IT essentials, intro to programming, and critical career skills. And that was in the summer of 2017. We had 25 young people that came from all over the Bay Area. I was pretty much running everything that time. Imagine, right? First startup, nonprofit style, not a lot of funding available, but I had a network. And that network really helped us out, getting referrals, getting young people excited to be part of the program. So during that summer, the idea really was to build this bootcamp style program that was free for young people. But away from that, get the right mentors, the right volunteers. You were one of those volunteers from back in the day, so you remember the work that we were doing back then at 360 Valencia. And then that led to really build this registered pre-apprenticeship program, which is now what the program is about. But at that time, I think that what really got me so excited is when these young people came in for the first time and opened a computer before. They didn't do that when they were in school. Some of these young people barely learned their first line of code, right? Hello world. And then on top of that, learning how to utilize HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Bootstrap, Airtable, having young people build their LinkedIn profile, their elevator pitch, and then having mentors and volunteers come in and inspire them to say, hey, not only you belong here at Dev Mission, but you also belong in the tech industry. So I think, to wrap up that question, David, it's a passion of mine. I never got into tech until I was 24 years old. And I always seen the disparity of young people not being exposed to this opportunity. So now imagine 8 years later, here we are today talking about this wonderful program. But at that time, it was a very early stage idea, startup mentality, nonprofit approach. And here we are. We're about to turn 8 years old in April, man. So it's been really delighted to see all these wonderful opportunities we have created for these young people.
Yeah, I mean that's awesome. And I'm going to share a little bit of a personal story and a kind of a reflection from that time. And you're giving me way too much credit for how much I was involved, but I did get a lot out of that volunteering. That's not a one-way street, right?
No.
I mean, before you get involved in something like that, we often don't experience, I mean, even just, anybody out there. I'm not really talking about like the elite class or anything, but all of us have a certain level of privilege that we aren't always aware of, And so in the abstract, you can kind of get this idea that there are these gaps, and you can kind of get this idea, that there are digital access gaps and things like that, right? And you can get it in the abstract. But spending time with real people, and I think, one of the examples, we're going to give homework, you're going to give homework, and they're like, well, I don't have a computer at home, and it was like, we just assume, a lot of us just assume that everybody has a computer at home, right? So that really brought it real, and that's a tough thing for somebody to say, right? I mean, I can kind of remember being young and not having all the same, I'm not like I didn't have pretty much whatever I wanted, but somebody else has a cooler toy than you're like, you don't want to say you don't have the cool toy, right? And so it's almost like, I'm sure it was difficult, to even go out and say you want to be like everybody else. You just kind of want to fit in, and then you find that, and that was real poignant for me, that like, oh yeah, this is like a real thing. This isn't like a thing in the abstract, and so that was something that really helped for me. And I would say for any listener, do that reflection, right, for yourself, and think about maybe volunteering for an organization like this. If you're in the Bay Area, obviously there's Dev Mission, but there's probably others if you're not in the Bay Area. So it's something to think about for everybody listening. And I don't know, do you have a story like that for you, that even you kind of obviously were aware of this kind of situation and environment, or you wouldn't have started it? But did you even, as you got into it, have some situations like that where like, wow, this is like, that's really touching, where you go home almost in tears?
Yeah, man. It's I think the need for tech skills has always been my passion. Always making sure that young people have access to 21st century computing skills. But away from that, as industries and businesses continue to change and evolve, a lot of these young people are falling behind. Just to give you a quick stat, 76% of Black and 62% of Latino young adult workers could be underprepared by almost 90% of jobs in the US by 2045 if digital skills gap are not addressed. And when you pay attention to this digital skills gap, it's kind of what you said earlier, right? Young people not having access to the internet, young people not having access to a computer, and not having relevant content. So some of the stories that I can tell you is that there were days that I remember some of these young people walking to our doors and they were hungry, and this is real, man. Like you're supposed to be eating at school, you're supposed to be eating at home, but because of your income level or whatever that is, or barrier that you have, you're not able to provide food to your children. And they come to learn, and they have so many wonderful skills, man. Digital natives, millennials, you name it, right? Once you show them how to do something, they're like, whoa, they pick it up right away. But away from that, it's like, how do we help these young people overcome those barriers? And when they came to that mission, as you recall, looking at our space back in the days, they came with that mentality, right? Like a sponge, learning from you and other volunteers and mentors. Hey, man, what about this? What about that? Copy paste, do this. And also, as you take a computer apart, here's the motherboard. Here are all the components. Wow, I never knew I could do this. Here's your elevator pitch. Wow. Hey, by the way, I'm going to be graduating from the program, and I'm going to get a stipend, a laptop, and I'll be able to potentially get a job in tech, or go to an internship, or go back to school and pursue a computer science major. So all those opportunities came in full circle because, like I said earlier, I was never exposed to that. And for me to see these young people and our staff, our team, our volunteer mentors, instructors, they come with the same mentality. That is the number one approach that we bring into the culture of this organization. Are you here because you're passionate? That's great. But are you here because you want to share that knowledge with this pipeline of young people walking in? If you're doing that, just imagine the idea of really taking ownership of that path for these young people, right? They see you, they see others, they get inspired, and they're like hungry. They're like, man, why outsource opportunities when it's homegrown talent right here in San Francisco in the Bay Area? They should not be a shortage of talent out here in the Bay Area. So we need to continue to pay attention how to bring more curriculum into the hands of these young people, more exciting competencies like machine learning, AI and those type of things. But away from that, the foundation, the basics, some of these young people are lacking on. So that's what we're really trying to do with the registered pre-apprenticeship program style.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you mentioned that about the students because, like, I know a lot of high school teachers or teachers at various grades, and and it's always like, oh, these kids, it's like pulling teeth. They don't show up. They're not paying attention, And these students are like dream students, like you say. They are hungry for this information, and you have this responsibility, that you really it's weighty to say, well, these folks want this information, and I have a responsibility now to deliver it in a quality way. So yeah, that was very true. I'm sure a normal high school student would be very envious of having these students in their class.
Yeah, they are.
You mentioned the AI thing, and I wanted to sort of wonder about that because as AI, is starting to really come into, the software, people are using it to develop code. Are we concerned that STEM is not going to have the opportunities that it once had?
That's a great question, David. I think that at the end of the day, you're going to have multiple layers in respect of the knowledge and curriculum that's going to be available, right? There's going to be some exciting milestones regarding how to use AI to become productive, how to use machine learning to do certain things, how to utilize certain features that will allow you to become not just productive, but also be able to be part of that environment. But away from that, there's still a lack of skills for these young people to get to that point. When you think about AI, last summer we launched an AI pilot, all sponsored by Workday, and we had a 10-week program that we put together with a bunch of volunteers, and we were teaching a lot of Python. And it was just amazing to see that the young people never thought about this opportunity to learn Python. They didn't even think that they could learn Python. They just finished the program. They learned the basic foundation of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And now they're furthering their knowledge by learning another programming language, right? And I think that as we continue to pay attention to what that is, you're going to have the good, the bad, and the ugly. For us, as an organization that is aiming to train these young people for careers in tech, it's always about enhancing our curriculum, our methodology, implementing more hands-on opportunities. We've been talking right now about doing a lot of soldering for the Internet of Things program. So it's always around trying to figure out what these young people want and need. It's one thing about what you want to learn, but if you don't have the basic foundation of the need skills, you're not going to get to that point. And we always have this idea thinking about technology is going to continue to evolve. You and I have been around for quite some time. And now we have seen how everything just continues to flourish, and there will be different layouts. And one thing for sure I can tell you, David, information technology is not going away. The training that we offer regarding IT technology, tech support, you're going to need those computers to support all the AI programmers out there, machine learning programmers. So for us, that's like an entryway for these young people to get into that stage. And then from there, figure out if this is something new they want to take. We offer also a lot of certifications now through Coursera. So we're doing a lot of certification programming as well. So I think it really comes down to what this young person wants to do. And if we're not the right program to teach you something, man, look where we are, man. We're in the Bay Area. There's so many programs out here. There's community colleges, there's computer science majors. So young people are privileged to have these opportunities. But it all comes down to asking yourself, do I want to learn? Do I want to go that route? Am I capable to learn those technology skills and sacrifice certain things to get to that point? So we feel that the ball's on the court of all these young people right here in the Silicon Valley, the Bay Area, and San Francisco right now, so much AI is happening around. So we got to figure out how to get those companies and sponsors to support the work that we're doing. So we're collaborating with a few right now to get more knowledge and more opportunities through AI and machine learning as well.
Yeah, and I'm, it's so true. I mean, I also witnessed how Dev Mission also beyond, it's like a catalyst. Like these kids start with maybe the first Dev Mission program, one of the courses, and then that just makes them get, oh, there's this other stuff too I can do, and these other things and these other opportunities. I think that's and through the mentors as well. The mentors can help make them aware of some of these opportunities that may not know about. So that's also another side of it. So, I know some of the folks on your staff have been through the program in the past, right? So I know you have that as a success story. Are there any, success stories you really want to highlight?
Oh man, I got plenty, but I'm gonna share one of a young man that has always been dear to my heart. And just imagine, David, almost 500 young people have been part of our program since 2017. We have a 90% graduation rate. And as of this week, we have almost 300 young people working in jobs in the tech industry. So regardless of what people say about layoffs, the tech is this or the tech industry, no, man, there's still so many jobs. And these young people need to be exposed to that. But there's one story for sure that really continues to inspire me on a daily basis. I had this young man, they got a flyer from us at a barber shop because, younglings love to go to the barber shop. And he saw a flyer and he was working at that time at PG&E and he got laid off. So he came, walked into our door, wearing his hat, full of tattoos, and he had a flyer. And this is at 360 Valencia. And then he's like, I got this flyer. I want to do this program. I said, all right, what's your name? He said, my name is Eddie. All right, Eddie. Well, this is the program. This is the application. Fill it all out, come back in, and we'll see if you can make it to the program because we have a very rigorous application process. Well, who showed up the week after with the application paperwork? Eddie did. And I was like, okay, you're ready for this? He's like, yeah. And this is the fall of 2018. So imagine a year later into the program, we're already getting some great referrals. The word out in the street about our program, especially in the Mission District, it's about these young people coming in, learning Spanish, but they're also learning technology skills, ESL students, DACA youth, dreamers. And of course, Eduardo is a dreamer. He's a DACA at that time. And I say, all right, he's asking me, Leo, do you think I can get a job in tech? And I say, it's all up to you, man. That's always I tell young people. We don't overpromise jobs. We don't guarantee jobs. We expose you to those opportunities. It's all on your hands to take it happen, to make it happen. So he went to the program. He did really well, graduated from the program. He earned an internship with us, offering tech support in affordable housing communities. And 6 months later into the internship, Postmates reach out to us and say, hey, we're trying to launch this apprenticeship program. We heard about your program. We need some candidates. We had 10 candidates for 2 roles. And of course, Eddie got that role. Now imagine, at that moment, this is like early 2019. He still doesn't have his papers. He's still a dreamer. He's still a DACA youth. But Postman said, you know what? We're going to give him an opportunity. 6 months later, Eduardo gets converted into an apprentice. Then he's getting all his paperwork done. Next thing you know, Postmates dissolve. Uber takes over Postmates. He goes over to Uber. He gets converted into the Uber payroll. Then all of a sudden, he's getting more opportunities. And then he's like, Leo, this is great. I've been here for a year. What's next? And I say, that's up to you. Let's get you going. Let's figure out what other certifications you need. Let's get your Google IT support certification. Let's get your CompTIA A+ certification. And while he was doing that, he also started getting his legal status in this country. To this day, Eduardo works at Audacity. He's a system IT engineer there. He got married. I can share with you that he bought a house in Antioch. On top of that, he's got 3 kids. And now he's really living that dream, right? The dream that a lot of young people are paying attention to, they might not be exposed to. Now, just imagine that story is the story of a lot of young people that we serve. It's about resilience. It's about patience. It's about learning the skills. It's about being motivated, It's about telling you, you can do it. It's all up to you. If one door closes, don't worry about it. Another door will open up. And we continue to see those stories, man. It's so amazing to see how these young people don't let anything stop them. And I think that's what really makes our program very unique in a way that now we're recognized by the state level. We just got a grant from the Department of Women's Bureau at the government level. So now the matter of the important factor is, can we scale this program? Can we find the next Eddies, the next Charitsas, the next Jocelyn that are all here, homegrown talent in the Bay Area? So that's a story that's very dear to my heart because I've seen the success of these young people. And they reminded me of myself when I was 24 years old and I didn't have that opportunity. So this is very gratifying for myself, for my family, for the organization, our board of directors, our staff, volunteers. They all have inspired the next generation of tech talent together.
That's awesome. And I'm sure your own story in this too is pretty impressive in that I'm sure a lot of people didn't give you a lot of chances on this when you were just starting out, right? And like you say, to see the program now, how successful it is, and 8 years later, you guys have now got a new office in South of Market. Yeah. Yeah.
You need to come down and see him, man. You need to come
definitely
down.
have to. Yeah, I definitely will do that. So, you know, with Leo's big picture thinking, where are you in 5 years? Where is Dev Mission?
Oh, man. I think we're really beginning to understand now that there's a need for expansion. There is a need for a Dev Mission in a box, which will allow other organizations in the Bay Area get access to the pedagogic, the curriculum, the competencies, the years of implementation, the model that potentially can help the young people be able to participate. Because remember, we need to bring the program where the youth are. We have seen a lot of young people with that program come as far from Richmond, Vallejo, Livermore, East Palo Alto, Santa Clara, Oakland, Daly City, Pacifica. But imagine if we have the ability now to bring that program to their communities where they live so they can feel safe, where they can feel secure. I think that that's an opportunity for us to look into. We also are now paying attention to start expanding our program in a better way. I'm pretty sure you're aware about our community technology program. The ones that graduate from the program, they go into affordable housing communities and offer free tech support. That program is been growing. Right now, we're on 11 sites in San Francisco where families can come and they get support from all these technicians at free cost. We teach also families how to use computers. So I see now the opportunity where the registered pre-apprenticeship program and our community technology program can be deployed in other communities in the Bay Area. So I think for the next 2 years, it's all about building a strategic plan about expansion, identifying funding, identifying partners, collaborating with mayor's offices to identify subsidized employment dollars. But I think most importantly is where the communities are, what's the need? Where is the gap? Technology, you can even work remotely now. You know, there's hybrid work. There is also, you can relocate to another location to potentially work for a company. So we really want to take advantage of those opportunities. I like to see what that would look like. So if anybody's listening to this wonderful podcast, if they want to learn more about how to implement their own Dev Mission in the Box program, just reach out to me and the opportunity will be available because we've done this before. We did it in the Yakima Valley, and we also launched a partnership last year with Goodwill Industries. So with the model continues to grow, but I see ourselves expanding and thinking about the Northern California area where there is a lot of need for a program like Dev Mission.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So if there are some tech professionals listening, what advice do you have for them if they want to help?
Man, just like you gotta really give back. It doesn't matter which organization in the Bay Area you're going to be supporting, especially right now at the stage where we are. There's a lot of uncertainty, but there is also a lot of need for great minds like yourself and others that just want to give back. If you are into tech, you can give back to Dev Mission. You can become a volunteer. You can become a mentor. You can come out to support the work that we're doing. You can also facilitate a workshop as well. If you don't just want to, be involved, more than once, you can also just do a quick workshop to get some alumni excited. I also feel that a lot of folks within the tech industry might think, well, I don't have a tech background. You don't need a tech background. You don't need a tech background to inspire a young person to be responsible, punctual, assertive, be a team player, how to deal with imposter syndrome, and I can go on and on. So we really ask everyone out there that has a need to volunteer to identify an organization like ours and really figure out what do they offer. I like the culture. I like the young people that they serve. Maybe they're focusing a little bit more on marketing, or maybe on PR, or maybe into programming. Whatever that skill set they possess, we're always hungry for those kind of volunteers and peers that want to support our work. So they can go to our website and go to the Get Involved page, and they can just sign up. We offer every third Thursday of the month a volunteer orientation. And within that orientation, we go over the different roles that we have available. But man, since you were part of the program, we have seen more than 500 volunteers be part of our pool. And it's so excited because the need is there to inspire these young people. And sometimes it just takes what we're doing right now, a simple conversation. Hey, man, how's your day? How's your web app going? Show me your code. Okay. Hey, by the way, I noticed your LinkedIn profile. Have you thought about adding a project? Have you thought about getting endorsed for skills? No? Yeah, you should do it. By the way, I have a mixer coming up at my company. You want to come down and meet some professionals and network with some folks? Well, I don't know how to do that. It's okay. I'll be right with you. Right? So it's always thinking about that peer-to-peer approach, mentor to mentee. But if you just want to come out and offer a workshop or volunteer for a day, we have opportunities like that as well. So just get involved, make it happen. We look forward to have you, just like you were part of that program before, David.
Mm-hmm. And the website is devmission.org. Is that right?
You got it.
We'll make sure those links are in the show note, but that's easy. That's an easy one. You can probably just Google Dev Mission. It'll definitely come up.
It does at the top.
Should be first thing. And then for listeners that, it's interesting. I'm glad you said the part about even if you're not deep into tech, you can still volunteer or provide service here, because that was another thing I was kind of surprised about, and it was really cool too to see that these students are also really interested in that side of it. Like, help me do a resume, help me pitch myself, help me do networking, things like that. So that's another side of it as well. And there's lots of people that know how to do that, and so it's not always just about fingers on the keyboard writing code.
Yeah, and one of the things that we also have identified, David, if I might say, is that there's also volunteers out there that have certain ideas. So imagine the opportunity for them to come and say, hey, Leo, I have this idea. What do you think about it? Oh, man, I never thought about that idea. How do you feel to come out and facilitate a workshop on that topic? I can do that. Oh, okay. So you never know. We also have volunteers in the past that supported the organization. All of our board members are volunteers as well. A lot of our staff members continue to work with other volunteers. They just want to come in for like a day or just come and check out the program. I invite everyone to really reach out to find out what can you do for Dev Mission. But again, don't just think about us. There's other nonprofits out here in the Bay Area that also need your help. So if we're not the fit, there's others out there that definitely will be excited to have you as well.
That's great. So yeah, obviously, if you want to learn any more about it, go to the website. There's obviously the old-fashioned donate button that I'm sure Leo won't refuse that. But that's not really why we're here today. Really, this to really highlight the overall program and all the different opportunities and how much good it's doing in the community. So Leo, thank you so much for making time for us.
No, I appreciate the opportunity, David, and I look forward to continue to figure out how we can get the word out about the work that we're doing, the impact that we're making, and most importantly, right, there's young people out here in the Bay Area that need opportunities like this. There's a huge opportunity gap right now. So we together can close that gap. We can also continue to make a sense of belonging for these young people. And if there's any tech company listening out there, a nonprofit or a startup, we have talent, we have a pipeline, we have young people that have been trained, they have been certified, and they're ready to start implementing those wonderful technology skills, but also to help your company become more productive. And on top of that, the diversity gap is still real. We have the talent to close those diversity gaps at your company. So thank you, David, for having me today. I appreciate the opportunity you've been giving me in this window to share the work that we have done together, because you have also been part of it.
Thank you so much, Leo. I really appreciate it. That is it for this episode of the Outrage Overload podcast. For links to everything we talked about on this episode, go to outrageoverload.net. The outrage machine can leave us feeling drained and hopeless. But remember, you're not powerless. There are ways to break free from the negativity spiral. Let's combat negativity with positivity. We all need a good dose of hope these days, so head over to our social media pages, Facebook or Instagram, @Outrage Overload, and share a positive news story that inspired you. Scroll down in the show notes and find the Send Us a Text Message link. It could be anything, big or small. Let's create a community that uplifts and supports each other in staying off the negativity spiral. Thanks for joining me on this journey. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.